Welcome to the show. This is Katrina's blog and I'm Katrina Edge. And with me, we are lucky enough to have the Dude from Earthship Australia. How are you going, Dude?
Howdy, Katrina. Great to be here, and yep, I can hear you okay through the internet.
Excellent, thank you, and good to finally meet you. Obviously a big fan of earthships and sustainable housing. And I suppose straight up, we're all wondering what's happening with your earthship, with your Brisbane earthship, and what's the latest from your backyard, Dude?
Well, I suppose the greatest accomplishment over the summer was to create the lightweight boxing using aluminium cans, and that provides the framework for the pouring of the bomb beam.
So the concrete ring of steel is the real engineering. It gives the airship its strength, is that right?
Absolutely, and now it's just a case of arching over the steel rebar of the dome roof and cage wiring it together and start laying some concrete for that, and then it's pretty much party time.
Ah, yes, cool. You talk of the grand opening. So when is this happening, Dude?
Well, it's at this stage 29th November 2014, actually Saturday night, and it's also the day that George Harrison died, and I would love to make the event about the great man. So at this stage I'm working to that date. I'm thinking a hot, balmy Brisbane evening, a sausage sizzle going on in the corner, and I'm sure there's one of my Brisbane listeners has a beat up acoustic guitar with a closet fetish for the Beatles, and so maybe give them a pew.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I'll try to create some ambience with some hurricane lamps maybe, and marvel at the hand painted mural of from the Dude daughter about to the great man himself, and of course the Earthship itself standing there aloof.
A symbol of peace and hope for the modern world. Would you believe I have read the website, and very, very cool. Are you saying it will be a free event?
No tickets, just check out the Facebook for details, so it'll be very casual, but for mine, Earthships are there for the people. It's the simplicity which is its genius, and it should not be turned into some sort of business model. In essence, it's about community and the people looking after themselves.
Okay, well I'm there, Dude. Just send through the invite. It sounds like a really good night. Also, you sound like a man on a mission, can I say?
Well, you get to a certain point in your life when you ask about, what's the point of life? In Lifeline, we get taught about the who am I, and it's all about having a job. Is it really about paying a mortgage, raising a family? And that's almost near impossible for the current generation BTW, but I suppose...
Yeah, yes, I know, and also I forget that, you are at your core a family man, and through the experience of your own children, you realise how hard it is for the kids that are coming through.
Look, it is hard for the young people to make a start. When my dear wife, Mrs. Dude, and I were aged 22, we had pretty good jobs, had a car, we got married, got a house, and started thinking about kids.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And for young people these days, that would be a pipe dream, almost fantasy land.
Look, financial costs is what's hurting people. Everyone has their hand out. So in a way, Earthships address that. And in my little view of the world through the internet, Earthships are almost anti-money expenditure. Having nothing to sell is a huge selling point in itself.
That sounds like Dude speak right there. But listen, Dude, if I can challenge you on that a little bit, there are various philosophical standpoints that you are kind of pushing, and dare I say even selling?
Well, selling yes, but charging cash for it no.
Okay, so it's the money thing that you're against. Like, I noticed you lost your office job last year, but you've picked up a new gig as a motorcycle postman, Dude. So you're obviously not against people having jobs.
Well, I'm committed to living in the city, and yes, I'm not naive to think that I don't need a little bit of cash rolling in. I'm not saying rip up your bills, but I am saying yes to a simple lifestyle. What I'm saying is that when financial pressure becomes that extreme, where it becomes your entire focus, then it's dangerous for society.
Okay, so with that, I also connect to another one of your pet subjects that I know you put premium on, and that's being of mental health issues. Is that what you're alluding to?
Look, every person has a vague awareness about the impermanence of life and what legacy do I personally want to leave. In my opinion, it is, for me, about being the vehicle for consciousness. What can I do as an individual? When I connect the dots, I start thinking about Earthships.
So, what does Mrs. Dude think about that?
Well, let's just say, look, she doesn't understand the build, to be honest, but like every successful marriage, there's spouses there that are still very supportive, and I do love her very much for that.
Cool. And 30 years of marital bliss. That is a good effort. You guys are lucky to have that milestone.
Well, again, true punters of the website will know that us meeting as teenagers was no accident. For mine, it was almost preordained, like connected to what I call consciousness. If I do have a gift, it is the ability to recognise those events when they occur.
Yes. And I also noticed, Dude, that when you talk about this stuff, you do it in an almost matter-of-factly sort of way, like it's permanently part of your thinking.
Well, I do believe it is always with me. I have made a conscious decision to develop it and work with it. Trying to change my focus from a lower strata of the mind and ego to a higher overarching umbrella that is spirit. And you've got it, what you said before.
Consciousness.
That's right, and that's exactly right, Soul Sister. There's a lot we can learn from the stillness of nature, for example, what the Dude calls the quiet earth. Coupled with that is the teachings from past masters. That's why I make a big deal about the spirits from the 60s. Various people, predominantly artists, who have touched the world in some way. It was their art that was important. It forced an entire generation of young people to sit up and take notice, and it certainly impacted me in that way. These people, men and women, were innovators, gifted, and are ultimately teachers of the highest order.
Which is as true now as it was 40 years ago.
That's exactly right.
And looking at your website, you make a big thing about education. So are you saying that the arts should be part of the school curriculum?
Look, I do say, I talk about making sub-subjects which are currently compulsory and making them optional. They don't really serve the people in the new world, and they don't prepare young people for life as it currently stands. I would make arts number one, which would include maybe the spirit of the 60s, which I call. Maybe my number two subject would be well-being, which would teach young students about mental health, maybe. I think that would be relevant. And lastly, maybe the environment, which would include things like sustainable housing. So, these subjects are relevant for the people for, right here, right now.
Awesome stuff, Dude. Awesome. I like it. And also, off air, you mentioned the tremendous opportunity that exists in the education system for young men. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, I think the current education model is failing boys in particular, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom. Through the power of technology, www, it can source the true masculine awakening for young dudes to go back to being good at what they've always been good at, and for tens of thousands of years, understanding their true nature, their true selves. There is good reason why in millennia past men have wandered off into the wild, for example, the lone wolf thing, the solitude. It's all about the non-distraction and the learning that comes from the stillness. The true spirit of a man can be found, it can be like an awakening, and for mine, that is education 101 for a young man.
Love it. You know, I think I know some guys who could do with some of that. Well, we're probably getting close to wrapping up now. Is there any final comments that you would like to make to our listeners today?
Well, I suppose the main one being is that in the world itself needs a shift, and government and corporations can't really do it for us. Maybe for them it's all about their next election date or bottom line profit and loss, and that's fine. Look, I can't begrudge them that, but I think the people themselves have to conclude that real change must come from them. That's the way it's always been. That is the true freedom that Martin Luther King talked about. And that's what the original architects of the 60s movement were trying to say. The media corporate sector want us talking about celebrity and sports and paparazzi. They don't want us dialing in to people like Gary Snyder and Rachel Carson. If I had my way, kids would be studying the Dharma Bums and the Silent Spring. Those books would be top of my list to replace algebra.
Gary Snyder. So is that all about the environment?
Absolutely. Look, we are in a situation now where 99% of the current scientific community are telling us that global warming is real, and this is happening, and we better do something. And then somehow a group of folks have managed to successfully reposition the understanding about climate, largely, I have to say, through irresponsible media.
Yes, yeah, you kind of get that. You kind of get that impression, don't you, that society has been successfully confused on climate?
I think so. And people say, oh, yeah, poor old Mother Nature, but as Mike Reynolds says, he's just more interested about saving his own ass, if you don't mind me saying that. But let me tell you, the world itself does not really care about pollution and carbon. In the long term, it has billions of years up its sleeve. It will survive to correct the balance. However, human beings in the short term may not.
Yeah, and destroying habitat and ecosystems that have existed for thousands of years, bulldozed down and, replanted with pine trees. It's no good, is it?
Look, the same people tell you that the 60s was all about smoking dope and taking the pill and listening to the goddamn Rolling Stones, and they're totally missing the point.
Don't tell me. It had an underlying message of consciousness.
Look, you're absolutely right, Steph. The spirit, the connectiveness, the common energy that we, namaste to you, dear soul sister, we're all part of.
So do women in general also feature on the Dude landscape?
Well, look, of course. For example, I work to this saying that I honour the part of you that is internal. I honour the part of you that also exists within me. We're all born with the same size soul, Katrina, and we're all part of consciousness. It's just how the living world operates. Polar opposites of energy, the feminine, the masculine, the light and the dark, freshness and decay, birth and death, wisdom, naivety, good and bad. Ultimately, it's just experience.
Dude, it is a fascinating message that you are bringing to the table, and it has been absolutely wonderful to catch up with you today. But from Katrina's blog,
and also from Earthship Australia,
yeah, it's
bye for now.